Hey guys, welcome to my first devlog. Today we're going to be talking about the concept for the first game. Got this goofy, uh, you know, little thing here to show you guys what I'm thinking. Um, in general, the concept is a fishing game that's set in hell, and specifically Dante's Inferno version of hell. So it's like the seven-layered hell, and you're a fisherman who's fishing, and the fish are actually just like metaphorically the damned souls, right? And so essentially, you're just an eternal punishment for them. Yeah, them getting fished and hooked all day long. So the concept of the game is that, well, I guess it's not the concept, but the goal, right? So as you're fishing, your goal is to kind of manage a bunch of different aspects via fishing and different fish types. And then eventually, each level, you want to get to the boss fish of that level. And that boss fish will take you down to the next layer and give you a certain amount of time in the next layer before you essentially lose and go back up to the surface. So, um, to start with how the game would work gameplay wise, because that's probably the most important part, right? I mean, if you have a game and it's not fun, then what's the point? So, I was trying to address fishing because I've played a lot of games like Project Zomboid and like Stardew Valley. I've seen Far Cry gameplay of fishing, Sea of Thieves, and to be frank, a lot of these are kind of boring. Some of them are just automatic. Some of them are just kind of like tedious in general. I think the one I had the most fun with is Stardew Valley, and that one's literally just a scroll bar. I know these are like passives in the games, or not passive isn't the right word, but bonus games, right? Like little game modes or whatever. I'm blanking on the word, but you get what I'm saying. Is it's not the main core of the game. It's just like an additional thing you could do. And this would obviously be different because obviously fishing would be the main thing you're doing here. And so I was trying to think of ways to make the fishing mechanics kind of like the way I would want to play them, like challenging, but also allow for a casual type approach. And I think I came up with a system that I'm happy with. The concept is kind of like as you're reeling the fish, you can continuously reel, and you have a stamina bar. So essentially, your stamina bar when you reel goes down, and it goes down more depending on which way the fish is pulling or which way you're pulling against the fish. And then if you completely run out of stamina, you'll fall in, and a giant monster will kill you. Which the bonus here I forgot to explain. Obviously, the setting is hell, and you're fishing the damned. Um, and you're going to be making chum and you're going to be sacrificing fish for different effects. So the game is going to be kind of like horror-ish, right? So when you fall into the water and you see this giant monster, it's unsettling. It's going to make you uncomfortable, and that's kind of the goal, right? I want to make players scared to fall into the water. And honestly, I was thinking of like making some sort of gameplay implications that when you fall in the water, maybe you have to react properly or swim up or something, and that way it's not just a cutscene of you watching it happen. It's actually you trying to fight for your life and not die. So yeah, that's kind of the concept of how I want the fishing to go. With a stamina bar, you're essentially managing the fish and you're managing your stamina bar. If you mess one or the other up, you'll fall in. If you want to play it safe, you can play it safe and not mess with your stamina bar too much. And if you're an experienced gamer, you can really push that stamina bar to the max and catch the fish as fast as possible. That's a tongue twister. Anyways, so I guess I've got this little example here. Um, so how the gameplay loop would kind of look like is you're fishing, and let's say you start off the game. I've got a little example where your torch is barely lit, right? So you have a torch and you need to keep that torch lit. Um, and all you can see is fish that are close by, right? So right now, obviously, the spawns would for close by fish would be the ones that help you with your torch. So let's just call this fish like the torch fish, right? Um, so the torch fish, right? So you catch this torch fish, and now you can sacrifice this torch fish, right? And by doing so, the torchfish makes your torch brighter, and you can see everything again, right? I mean, obviously, you wouldn't be able to see all the way out here, but you'd be able to see all this other fish, right? And now you can make distinctive choices on whether or not you want to catch the pink fish, if you want to catch the blue fish, and all these fish do different things, right? So let's say the pink fish, changes did the day night cycle, and the blue fish changes gets rid of the weather, right, or the rain. The rain really affects your torch and makes your torch go lower. Or maybe the blue fish mixed with the pink fish makes some chum, right? And that chum, if you throw in the water, will make the ocean more calm, right? So that's kind of the concept here, and those are just some examples that I've thought of so far. So like um, the day and night cycle could be like different fishes spawn more often. I shouldn't say fishes. Different fish spawn more often during day or night, or maybe they're bigger during day or a little smaller during night, or maybe they're just certain spawns that only do day and night, and you need to manage those when it's day and when it's night. Same with the rain. Like I said earlier, the rain could take out your torch, make it go down quicker. Maybe the rain makes the ocean swell more. Maybe the rain makes certain spawns less likely to happen, what have you not. Maybe rain just makes it hard to see. So getting rid of the rain could be useful, or just weather effects in general. I haven't really thought too much harder than that. I was thinking about the ocean being rocky and whether or not that would just be like at a certain point it like basically takes your boat and you die because your boat just gets like thrown over. Or maybe there's like a balance mechanic, and while you're fishing, you also have to manage like WSD and make sure you don't fall off the boat. And if you're good enough, maybe you don't have to manage the ocean as much. But if you're a new player, maybe you're like, that's really obnoxious. I can't do two things at once. Manage the fish, my stamina bar, and on top of that, my balance. Um, so I'm not sure about that one. That might be a little too much. But in general, there will be like an ocean effect where the ocean is bumpier and maybe it's harder to catch fish or whatnot. But point is, you're managing these different aspects. So the light, the weather, the day night cycle, and the ocean. And on top of that, you can start to make these chums. And like, let's say we know that blue and yellow fish, if we catch both of these and we make them into chum, maybe they'll make some chum that can, make purple spawn more often. Or maybe it'll make chum that, calms the ocean down, like I said. Or maybe it'll make chum that makes you able to withstand one attack from the big monster down at the bottom, right? So that's kind of the concept here is there's sacrificing for one fish, right? For immediate effects that maybe are more necessary. Like every player needs to, I don't know, get their torch up. Well, you're not gonna have to make come for your torch, or maybe you will. I haven't decided that completely yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna leave it as a sacrifice. And then I mean, and I was also thinking maybe you could let fish go to make the same fish like leave. Or maybe you could make the sacrifice fish that don't typically get sacrificed, and then that will like make their spawns less. There's a couple different implications that you could have here, but the main goal of the game is that you're managing these fish in the ocean via catching them, and you're also managing the environment via catching fish. So the concept is you want to catch all these little fish, and really you want to catch the most minimal amount you can until you get to the boss fish, right up the level. So let's say, like for an example, you've got a pink or purple fish, pink fish, whatever, and you get a yellow fish, and this makes your chum for the boss fish. You get your chum, you throw it in the water, right, and then boom, boss fish comes, and then you catch boss fish as fast as you can, and then you hook it to your chain and it drags you to the next layer, and you've got about as much as big as this boss fish was to in time, right? So this is why I have a little clock here. So let's say you were really quick or whatnot. I'm not sure what mechanic will make the size of the fish. I'm pretty sure speed, so that way it like rewards players that are really fast with a lot more time. And also just being better at the game is going to give you that ability to get the bigger fish, right? And the bigger the fish, the harder they are to catch. So it's not like you just get one big fish and then go to the next area and you're just going to get another huge fish. I mean, you're going to be so early that when you catch that next boss fish, he's going to be massive, and you kind of want that, right? So every single time you go down a layer, you spend most of your time catching that boss fish, and then the next layer, you're going to have the most amount of time to catch the next boss fish, and you're the fastest, so that next boss fish is going to be the largest, right? And the larger the fish, the more time you have on the next layer. And essentially, the point of the game, like I suggested earlier, was to keep going down until the very end. And then if you're just like a casual player and you're just playing the game for fun and you just want to beat it, essentially, getting that last fish is essentially the end of the game. Now, I don't want to say that the most important part of this game is doing that, because my concept for this game is setting it up for where these boss fish, it has replayability essentially. Like you can kind of tell this can be like a kind of an arcadey game where you're doing multiple runs through and trying to get the best numbers, the biggest fish, the fastest times, right? And the size of the boss fish correlates with the time, right? So the faster you are, the bigger fish you get. Now, not only do I want to make multiple circuits, so like let's say you catch this fish during day, maybe this boss fish will drag you to a different layer, and like an alternative layer, and you catch it during night, it'll take you to a different one, right? And then the different layer will have a different boss fish. So there's not just going to be 7 layers and 7 boss fish. There's going to be 7 layers of a run, but like alternate versions of each layer where you can go down different paths, right? So my main concept is maybe like the original Dante's Inferno has Judas at the bottom. So maybe there's like 3 different end game fish bosses to catch, and you have to go down specific paths, like permutations of the bosses beforehand, to get to specific endings, right? So that's all good and dandy. But when you beat those 3, I also want to implore the player to kind of push a little bit further, and keep playing, right? And so my incentive for that is giving them kind of like cosmetics. So when you catch a fish, like I had said before, the speed to catch the fish is going to determine how large the fish. So when you catch a boss fish, and let's say you're on the 3rd layer, right, and you're like, man, this is a really good run, but I'm out of stuff, or I'm not feeling it, or whatever, and I don't want to risk it. Well, instead of hooking it to the chain, you can convert it to this cosmetic ring. And the cosmetic ring will basically not only have the look of whatever boss it is, so you'll be able to identify, like, oh, maybe, this fish has diamonds for eyes or something. And so this ring represents that fish. And then on the bottom portion of it, on like your palm, it'll have the size of the fish and the time, right, which are correlated. Maybe one or the other. But long story short, is basically like a leaderboard, a local leaderboard where you can show off to your friends, like, yeah, I caught, the layer 3 fish in 2 minutes, right? And then you can catch like a plethora of these, right, and have a ton of rings on your fingers, for how fast you've done everything. And on top of that, I want these rings to be for circuits as well. So, like, let's say you do the Judas circuit, right, where you get to Judas. Perhaps maybe the ring will be, your total time, or something of that suggestion. Or maybe, there's rings for just instances. So, maybe you caught Judas himself within 2 minutes, but the rest of the game wasn't too hot. So you just want Judas's, score. I haven't really thought too much about that yet. I just thought of the concept of, cosmetic rewards, so that way you can kind of show off. Um, so yeah, I guess going forward on that, another thing we should talk about is inventory management. So this is kind of where the casual aspect of the game comes in. So obviously that's very competitive, right? You're trying to typically in a game, you're trying to do runs, you're trying to do as fast as possible, you're trying to get the rings that you're looking for. And and if you're just trying to beat the game, obviously speed is still important because if you really want to win, I anticipate most players will lose because they're stressed of the timer because they're running out of time, and or they just run out of time in general, because that's a big aspect of this game. You want to make sure you're managing time, and you don't want to make sure, like in the instance of the torchfish, you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it. I guess I didn't talk about this. So all of these little fish have different sizes. I mean, all the fish have different sizes. Even the boss fish. You might find a boss fish if you're really fast that's really big. But these little fishes here also have different sizes, and the bigger the size, the harder they are to catch. But the better the reward, right? So let's say you catch a torchfish that's pretty big. Your torch is going to be lit pretty big, or maybe for even a longer time, right? But let's say you're on a map where you don't really need to have that much light or that much time. Maybe it's more beneficial for you to catch one of the smaller fish, because it's easier, right? So that's another management aspect of the game, is like trying to like look into the ocean, and aim at whatever fish that is going to be most beneficial to your situation. So that's all, the main loop, and the main loop here is very, speed running. It's very like as fast as you can do it. Obviously a very high skill ceiling of identifying what fish does what. A high skill ceiling of, I guess that's a knowledge, instead of a skill, but a high skill ceiling of actually like managing your stamina, pushing your stamina to catch the fish as fast as possible without falling in. Managing all of the rest of the environment things at a minimal, right? So you don't want to catch the biggest fish to get rid of the ocean, but you might want to, catch something so that way you can get past that level. Then, on the other aspect, I was thinking it would be kind of cool if you could preemptively, because obviously fishing is fun to do casually as well. So you could preemptively maybe prep yourself for a run, right? So my concept is you have an inventory, right? And this is an example of like 3 bags for chum and 2 hooks for independent fish. And obviously that it's going to change in the future probably because that's a pretty big inventory. But this is just my first concept of it. Um, Essentially what you could do is you could say, let's say level 2 is has crazy rain and it makes it really really hard, and the first thing you have to catch is a rainfish, but you can't because the torchfish, you know, if you can't see, so you catch a torchfish, you light your thing, and then maybe the rain takes it out pretty fast and you hate that mechanic. You're like, oh, it's just way too fast. So you can preemptively, even in deeper levels, right? Like whatever fish you want to catch, you can go to that level, right, and not worry about the time. Just crash out and die, and still keep your inventory. And so, like, let's say maybe you've gone down there and you've got, the fish that solves the weather, right? And you've got a really big one because you're like, I really just want to go away forever. Then you get to level 2 or 3 or whatever I said it was, where the rain is crazy, and then you can sacrifice this fish and get rid of the rain instantly. You don't have to worry about managing, looking for it on that level. You can already preemptively have that ready to go. And so that's kind of the concept here for the casual aspect, right? You can spend as much time as you want on the top layer, or even go down to the bottom layers and just like, oh, I only got 5 minutes to catch what I want. And then you're like, you know what, I need to catch it again. And you go down there. You're not too worried about like, oh shit, I have to get out of this. I have to get to the next level. You're just more so like, oh yeah, I'm just going to catch what I think I need to catch for this run. And then I'll be ready to do the run. And that's when I'll worry about the time, right? So in that instance, you can even say like, oh, level 2, I hate that level. So I'm just gonna get the chum ready. I know it's a blue and a pink fish, right? So I've caught the blue and the pink fish. I make them into chum, right? And now I'm ready. When I hit level 2, I can just throw the chum in the water and immediately catch that level's boss. And that's kind of the concept that's gonna allow for like not only that casual play of like I'm just looking for the biggest fish, like a big purple fish or a big blue fish or whatever, that's gonna help me get better rings, right? Um, and also just faster times and whatever, maybe even beat the game. So you're prepping for those runs. But on top of that, it allows like kind of a meta, right? So you're like, oh yeah, like I think it's best if you catch 2 bluefish for level 1 and level 3, and you get chum for the boss in level 4 and whatever else, right? And then maybe your friend's like, actually, no, I don't think so. Level 5 is really hard because of the torch. The torch goes out all the time. So I've got my torch fish for level 5, and I've actually got my chum for the ocean because the ocean on level 6 is really hard or whatever, right? And so you can have a ton of different permutations for your runs based off of this like preemptive. You're basically calculating ahead of time what you may need and what you may not need. And yeah, I think that kind of allows for a good horror game where you're sitting on this boat, you're chopping up a bunch of fish, it's getting bloody, you're making chum, it's getting bloody. You fall into the ocean and this giant thing comes and kills you. So it's got that horror aspect. It's raining crazy. Each level of Dante's Inferno is vastly different, and it's got good imagery, but not enough to make it like I guess what's the word I'm thinking of? Like restrictive, right? On creativity. So I think there's a lot of potential with each level for a very cool environment that still represents what it is story. And then on top of that, so the atmosphere is nicely set up, and the lore implications of the game are cool. But then on top of that, I think the gameplay loop makes it fun to where not only is it just generally rewarding to catch fish in general, but it's also fun to prep and manage your runs. So there's just so many different things to worry about that even if you are the best catcher in the game, somebody with strategy that's still kind of on par with you and in like kind of like not you can't be crazily like if someone has a terribly high, it's like CS:GO or something. If you're insanely good at shooting, you can't be bad at shooting and fight that guy, but you can outthink them, right? And that's kind of the concept here is like you can prep better, you can manage your environment better. It's a very quick thinking like, oh, manage this, manage that, make sure this doesn't happen too much, make sure that doesn't happen too much. um and make sure that I'm prepared for everything and what do I need now, right? It's multiple things. It's quick skill and it's also quick thinking, and then it's also preemptive. So it's got a good balance of all that stuff, and I think it's a really good concept. So this is kind of the idea I'm going for. We'll see how it turns out, but this is just the concept. So cool. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.